We're going to start here at home, where I'll conduct a technical analysis of the U.S. stock market so that you can see what's really happening. Then we'll move on to bit, then gold, silver, oil, gasoline, before touching on bonds. Then we'll take a tour around the world and compare head to head and see how is the U.S. doing since these tariff threats versus the rest of the world. And you might be surprised to see how well some of these smaller, unassuming countries are faring against the United States, such as Colombia, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Russia, China, Brazil, India, Vietnam, and many others. Stay tuned for all this plus more at Chart-cuterie. So from the peak on February 19th, 25, all the way to the trough where we met the bottom, that was on March 13th. We went down a roughly little over 10%. Since the rally, we've come up to about a 6% loss on the S&P 500. If we measure it out, for a retracement, we would expect it to come up and hold the support level where it is actually testing. However, it has not reached this gray line here, which is the 50-day moving average. So we're going to go ahead and pull out our binoculars and take a closer look at some of the technicals in the market and see what's really going on here. So each of these indicators have different meanings. The RSI is the relative strength indicator. The stochastic have to do with the overbought and oversold conditions. And what we can really see that really is jumping out to me are these green candles here. These green candles indicate that there were more buyers than sellers in the market. This is the volume of purchasers versus sellers, the bid versus the ask. So don't be surprised if the S&P keeps marching up forward to the middle of this green box, possibly even above it. Now, if it continues past this 587 mark on the SPY, that's when we would be concerned about a change of trend. But until then, these are the measured moves. We can't measure up or down until it solidifies its place. And moving on to Bitcoin, we can see that since the drop around the same as the S&P, in fact, it seems to be running in the same or similar pattern as the S&P 500. Let's move on to commodities. Looking at gold, it's still holding above this $3,000 level. Nothing but higher highs, higher lows, holding above the 50-day moving average and doing very well for itself. Looking at silver, it reached its measured move, and we have to see if it holds this green box right here before continuing on up to form another bull continuation pattern. Oil has reached its measured move down, and now it's fighting for its life. Looking at gasoline, we could see that it popped, dropped, held, and now looks to be ripping. If we measure it out, we can see that we are due for high gas prices in the summer. We can see that copper reached and exceeded all of the measured moves. And I just wanted to point out a little arrow that I put here a couple weeks back when I started the, I don't remember which one it was, but I did one of these videos, and well, if someone doesn't cash out at this point, then they can expect a retracement. So if it's a short-term trade, let's hope that whoever's doing these types of trades know to cash out. Natural gas has popped. It's holding in the middle, and we shall see where it goes from here. As far as bonds, the 10-year and the 2-year, no surprise here that they've been ripping all month. Are you ready to take a trip around the world with me? This is what we've all been waiting for. So looking at head-to-head, mano y mano, USA versus the rest of the world, let's see how these tariffs have been playing out in or against our favor. This again is the S&P 500. We can see that it dropped roughly 10% and has come back roughly about 5%. This is where we stand. We can see that Canada is recovering so far better in the same time period than we are. In mano y mano, we could say the same about Mexico. Colombia, look at Colombia. It has reached and exceeded all measured moves. This is an incredible bull run holding well above the 50-day moving average in Colombia. Here's Israel's stock market running around the same level as the United States. Take a look at Kuwait. It is running through the roof. If we measure these moves out, Kuwait is in the middle of a very strong bull market right now, wouldn't you say? And no surprise here, Saudi Arabia is following suit. Pakistan had a hell of a rise, and it sure seems to be holding right in the middle of this Fibonacci zone. The U.A.E. seemed to have recovered in that downward selling cycle. Since December, the comrades in Russia, they have been doing very well. Wouldn't you say since December? They're holding in a very strong pattern, trading well above the fib zone and above the 50-day moving average. Russia seems to be faring pretty well. We can see that since early February, China has also been doing very well. Since the end of January, Japan hasn't been doing so well, and we'll see where it does in this test zone here. But man, look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong's ripping. Woo! South Korea looks to be the same. It took me 2 days to do this filming because the computer keeps overheating on me. I hope it doesn't do it again because it did this last night. We'll see how far we can push this. The Euro stocks, since December, have been ripping. Our friends, the Europeans. Germany, same thing. What else do we got? Switzerland. Look at the Swiss markets. UK as well. You know, I'm going to have to shut off this camera and see if I can get this computer to work a little better. Hopefully that's better now. And we can move on, seeing that Italy and Greece are still both on a full-blown running cycle all the way up. Can you believe this? Brazil reaching all measured moves. Colombia, or no, I'm sorry, this is Chile. Chile running all the way up. India fell down but made a V-shaped recovery. South Africa's killing it. Australia, unfortunately, is falling in the mud. Singapore, killing it. Vietnam, killing it. No surprise there with all the manufacturing. And last but not least, Thailand. Oof, the Thais are having a hard time right now. Thank you for tuning in to Chart-cuterie, where we make these charts palatable. I hope that you find educational value in this, and I will start putting out an educational series so that we can normalize financial topics and verbiage so that it's more understandable. The financial market genuinely is overcomplicated intentionally and on purpose. So I hope that just by looking at the markets, you can understand a little bit more every day that you look at these. May God guide you, bring you peace, happiness, and strength in the time ahead. God bless.